store he's got down there. It's going to get bigger. I can't understand why we can't do something about this. Let him go somewhere else with that. Buy him some land somewhere if it's that important. Get him out of sight. That's all I'm asking for. And take the land back, put it under your jurisdiction. That's all in the world that it amounts to. But no expansion for this project. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Max.
Now this letter here, one more thing. Everyone should read this, that he was sent from this Department of Environmentalist, and when an environmentalist can't find an error, something wrong with a junk pile, then he's not an environmentalist. He's standing in a stream of water showing buried tanks when he took the picture. But it don't show the stream. Everyone should look at it.
It said there wasn't in the floodplain also, I believe.
I've seen it underwater, excuse me. I've seen this place particularly underwater in my lifetime.
Numerous times.
Numerous times, you're right. Hey, it's just waiting to happen.
Okay. Question about
just
that?
for a second, just so you know, Maxie, that the land currently is under our control. We have not, the GBDC does not own this
That's
land.
great, that's great. I appreciate that. Keep it there. Don't make these bad decisions like we did in the past. It's going to cost us. Look what the tannery done to us. Look what the shoe factory done to us. Look what the building up there at Edry done to us. There's nothing on the parking lot, like you said, nothing there. A lot of money. We're making bad decisions. We got to quit this thing. From now on, get the public involved. This project, the 3 acres and the 9 additional acres, no one knew about it until it was already there, established. Then it's too late. But let's don't make these decisions anymore. Let's make some good ones. I'll stand behind everybody down here that can make them kind of good decisions. So will everybody else. Now these friends that write these letters, everybody's got friends. That's to be expected. That had no influence, no meaning. Go up to Green Bank and talk to all them people.
I got signatures.
He'll talk to you. I'm finished.
Thank you. Heather, you had a question?
Yes, they raised a question about it possibly being in the floodplain. Didn't our floodplain coordinator specifically do an investigation along with the DEP to find out if it was in the floodplain?
Yeah.
And that would be Don McNeil.
Tom, you know, floodplain coordinator.
That's what he had told me, that it was not in the floodplain.
With 2 conflicting statements he made.
Let's go to the next speaker. Who wishes to speak next? Steve, would you like to?
Yeah, you know, my biggest problem is the stewardship Jacob has with the 3 acres that he's been given a sweetheart deal for. $150 a month is pretty cheap. He said, well, you know, I want to have a transfer station there. My poor wife has to drive every day to Marlington to run our business, and I'd like to have something close to my home, and we're going to build a garage, and we're going to work on our trucks, and we're going to hose them out at night and keep them clean, and we're going to keep the property clean. Nothing was said about outhouses, about a scrap yard, nothing. About 1,000 tires on the property, nothing. And when he started the scrap business, he was told by the Highway Administration what the guidelines were. He didn't follow those guidelines. When we complained about it, I said to the guy, Mark Bowling, why wasn't this inspected? He said, you know why? Because nobody complained. Nobody's complained to this point. So the citizens of Greenbank had to go and become state employee. You know, we had to do what state employees should be doing. So he put the scrap business in. Now, Norman asked him a very simple question. Do you plan to run a scrap business on this additional 9 acres? Mr. Meck's comment was no comment. I'm a little past this. I need something more than no comment. When you're going to come in and you're going to, you know, I look at that property when I drive into the green boxes and I look at trash and pieces of car parts jammed into the mud, because that's a mud hole he made back there. It's unsightly. And we also hear people tell us, well, early in the morning we hear gas escaping. Instead of reclaiming it, maybe he's cutting lines to refrigerant lines and venting it into the atmosphere. That's against the law. Well, people tell us we smell him burning insulation off of copper wires. That's a violation of any law that I've ever heard about. The guy is on.
I'll let you continue.
Well, no, you know what? I don't think this is fair.
I do have a
This is
I
like
do-
a. Well, then
He
when.
wants to address you, then I'll
I
let
do
you
have a
continue.
response.
And then
I think he wants
I'm
to
going to be
answer-
able to keep responding
Yes, I
too,
think he
or are you
wants to
going to
answer your
muzzle me?
question.
I do have a response for Stephen. I have had 2 Department of Highways inspections just in recent months, and I have
Yeah,
no
because
violations.
we called in you.
No
We called on you.
violations, sir.
You know, like Maxie said, because they're in your benefit. They're not for us.
It's all right in there.
I got that letter.
They
I
didn't
was
do
one of-
nothing.
They didn't do nothing.
Nothing.
Okay, Steve, you can continue.
So, you know, what are we, I'm tired of trust me, trust us. I'm a good church man, trust me. No, I need more than that. I need an environmental impact study on what's he going to put here, exactly what's going to be there, how's it going to be run, and why. These sewage treatment plants around here have excess capacity. He could, by arrangement, dump into these plants. No, we're going to build a 100,000 gallon tank. Where is that much septage going to come from? Is Snowshoe involved in this? Because we're hearing he's got 3 contracts with Snowshoe. Everybody goes, no, no, no. But how about if the tank's up 100,000 gallons? That's a lot. That's an enormous tank. Question, is it going to be an open tank? We don't know about that either.
That's in Green Bank he's speaking of too, people. That's
Yeah.
what kills me. My town.
And as far as the tanks that are on Route 66, when we first questioned, we went down to the floodplain coordinator and we said, hey, we're thinking about buying this land and building a house there. The guy said, oh, I wouldn't build a house there unless you build it up on stilts. Why not? Oh, because it's in a floodplain. Now he says, oh no, we surveyed it, it's not in a floodplain. Like these people that have lived there all their lives said, we've seen that property there numerous times underwater. And the question I have about that 66 property with the tanks he buried, did he have an EPA permit to dig those tanks up? He needed an EPA permit for wetlands. Not a DEP, Environmental Protection Agency of the federal government. Did he have a permit? I don't know that answer. I'd like to know that there's more planning here than just a guy with a bulldozer pushing dirt around. I'd really like to know that this is going to be what he says it's going to be. Why didn't it work out for Highland County? Highland County put limitations on them. What are we just going to do? Go like this and say, yeah, go ahead, Jacob. You're a good church man. Go right ahead. This is wonderful. And if we get a couple jobs, fine. If we don't get any jobs, that's fine too. That's all I got to say. Thanks.
I'd just like to make one comment. I've heard it brought up about the water and the flooding. I don't know how many of y'all's familiar with the town of Burlington, but the whole septic system in Burlington lies right down here above Stillwell Park. In the last 15 years, I've seen that to where you could not see it underwater 3 times. Where did that go? Right in the Greenbrier River and right on down. All of it.
That's
You
right.
know. So somebody somewhere along the line that designs this stuff maybe don't know what they're doing. I don't know. But as far as it getting into the water, it's happening throughout this county in a numerous amount of places.
This is a controversy in Virginia about putting this septic on land. And I heard a woman on the radio say, you know, this is something that we're not going to know the results of for about another 30 years. And because of that, that's not something we need to rush into. And this county, everywhere their signs are, we're the birthplace of rivers. So whatever he puts on the land in this county is going to wind up in the headwaters of a river, and it's going to go somewhere down the river. What is going to be the impact in 30 years?
land application is not a matter for the county commission, that's the DEP to consider at the state level.
But if it's tied into you selling him this land for a sweetheart deal, I think it is.
Anything more, Steve?
No.
Okay. Who would like to speak?
One more thing, President
Hold
Fleming.
on,
There's a
Maxie,
lot of
just a minute,
contamination with this.
Maxie, just a minute, I want to give another person a chance to speak. Yes, sir, what's your name for the record?
Steve McCarty.
Okay.
I've been down to Mr. Max several times. Friends with most of these guys here. And want to continue to be friends with them. But it's getting kind of blowed out of a little proportion there. The 1,000 tires, that's a lot of tires.
Yeah, 2 rollbacks full, that's 1,000 tires.
If they're in rollback.
Yeah, I've seen them, I have some pictures of them.
If they're off the ground in rollbacks,
No, the
they're ready
state law,
to be.
the federal law
I'm
says
talking now.
100 tires, 100
Okay,
tires,
but I'm talking.
100.
And whenever he puts that stuff in those trailers, like his cars, he's got to have them on the ground to cut them up. And you might get in 3 or 4 junk cars, you can't cut it all up in a day's time.
Allowed that too.
Okay, but those others are in undercover. You can't see them unless you would go down toward the green boxes and look back looking for them, right, Steve?
That's where I go.
Okay, if he puts up him a pine tree or a little fence there, then he'll block that. But as far as the junkyard in there, there's not. And the fume, there is no fumes coming off those waste tanks.
I've smelled them 3 times.
I've been in there a lot of
3
times.
times
Steve?
I've smelled them.
Let's,
Into them.
if you just want to address the commission, please. Mr.
All right.
McCarty.
I've been in there a lot of times. There is no smell coming off those tanks. There is no paper on the ground. There is no mess there, period. And the daughter, Crystal Irvin, is my daughter, and she is the closest house to him. If it doesn't bother her or Charlie Sheets over there, Linda Stewart, those people that live next door, how would other people be smelling it? Maxie and I live pretty close together.
I'll take you with me the next time I go and I'll show you.
And I don't smell it at my house. And whenever I drive by, the building, the shop itself pretty much covers the whole yard unless you're in there. If there was 1,000 tires in there, you wouldn't be able to see the yard, period.
He had them in rollbacks.
So, well, if they're in a rollback, that's not on the ground.
Rollbacks.
I think that it's getting all blowed out of style. Somebody is jealous because he's doing it. They don't want the man to make money, and the jobs are needed. Everybody can't work the observatory and snowshoe, and that's all the jobs there at Green Bay. And I'd like to see it continue. I'd like to see him expand. If he goes